Hey, what's up? So, hey, if you're returning, welcome back. If it's your first time, buckle up. It gets weird. I wanted to talk a little bit about alchemizing things and transmuting things because it's one of the things that saved my life, like literally and figuratively both, but like saved my life. And I mean that. Excuse me. Oh, pardon me. I had some breakfast and it's burpy. So, and I'm going to talk about this from my experience because it's been an incredible one, and I really can't discount anything that I've been through because it's been fucking crazy. It's been crazy. 1:10 on the clock when I said that. So, I remember when people started dying in my life. At first, it was like my best friend Holden died, and then my mom died shortly after that. And like it was just like cascade of people dying. Like it wouldn't stop. I mean, in one time, I lost. I had another best friend of mine, Margaret, die. She died in September. I don't remember what day it was exactly, but she died in September of 2022. Then my great aunt died, and my great aunt was one of my best friends too. She was definitely a soulmate of mine. She died on October 4th, so it was like less than a month later. And then my younger brother died, December 20th of 2022. I couldn't get a break. I couldn't come up for air. I kept coming up for air, but I just kept getting knocked down. And I was really frustrated. I mean, I couldn't see the forest for the trees. I had lost my business. I had lost the man that I was at the time in love with. I had basically lost everything and everyone. There was no one left. That was with my younger brother dead. I mean, I have a half sister who's alive, but like, she never really cared about me much. I mean, which is like, was made clear by the fact that she started telling people I beat her every day. My God. I mean, when we were growing up, oh my God. Like, she told people that for years, and I had no idea she was doing it. And so, and I had lost my house. My house had been stolen. My property had been stolen. There were things that I just could not. I couldn't get around them, It was like, it was in a 328 on my birthday. Anyway, there were just things that I just couldn't get around, I was struggling really hard. And I didn't know what to do anymore, I really didn't know how to feel or how to act. I mean, I couldn't even like, I could barely breathe, I just wasn't doing well at all. I mean, I don't think anybody would be. But like, this was intense for me, and it wouldn't stop. Like I said, like it was like one after the other, and it just wouldn't stop. And I genuinely didn't know what to do with all of that. I mean, I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know if it meant anything. I just didn't know. And getting a phone call. I just didn't know what to do with all of that. Everybody had died. I mean, literally, everybody was dead. I was like, what the fuck? And I remember I prayed about it. And I prayed, I prayed deeply about this. And I said, God, what's the fucking plan? Like, I know there's a plan, but like, I have no idea what it is. And I was told, well, anyway, I got an answer for that. And so I didn't, I guess I'll sit in my chair out here. I still didn't know what to do with it all, though. You know, I didn't know how to make it mean anything. I didn't know how to, I didn't really, I mean, I was already a highly efficient, very good alchemist, but there were certain things, like childhood wounds and shit like that, I just hadn't worked through. And like I said, you know, I wasn't getting a chance to breathe. I mean, it was just one thing after another. It just wouldn't stop. I don't want to sit in the sun. Come here. Come here, boo-boo. Come here, boo. Come on, my love. Let's not sit in the sun like we ain't got no sense. Sometimes I like sitting in the sun, but not right now. Come on. Load him up. Load him up. Come on. I'm coming in with you. I'm coming in with you. Oh, my noodle duck. My yummy duck dog. Missy. I didn't have any friends. I mean, I had her, but I had no human friends. I had one person that was like a kind of like, I think, being like the halfway decent friend that they could be to me. And other than that, oh, my noodle. Oh, my noodle. And I had nothing else. I had nothing. I had a car. I was, and then I became homeless. I was, living in my car with my dog. We had a 2-door Honda Civic. And, I mean, it had no AC. It had no heater. No tint on the windows. So it was like living in a fishbowl. I mean, everybody could see what I was doing all the time. I had no privacy at all. And I looked at my situation and I just said, you know what? Fuck this. Like, fuck this. You know, like, I really don't know how to say it any other way. Like, I really just said, you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna go it alone because I don't have anyone else to hang out with. I don't have anyone else to talk to. Everybody around me, and I mean this, everybody around me was either addicted to their childhood wounds or drugs or alcohol or all three. And I just couldn't be around that anymore. So I started coming up into the mountains by myself with my dog. And like I said, I just left everybody and everything behind. I didn't care anymore about, and it wasn't like apathetic not caring, you know, I just wasn't going to care about the bullshit anymore. And it certainly hadn't served me so far, so why was I continuing to pay attention? And that was, it's a legitimate question that I couldn't answer for myself. Oh, you're such a yummy duck. You're the cutest thing ever. I love you. She doesn't like being videotaped. So, Mizzy. So, and that, then the night that I helped save that man's life in the accident on the 154 highway, which was a big deal. I mean, it was really traumatizing for me. I'm sure it was traumatizing for him. He lost a leg. And I think back to that, if I had the right equipment, I don't beat myself up about it, but if I had the right equipment, if any of us had the right equipment and everything, we would have been able to save him without him losing his leg or even being really injured. But anyway, it happened the way it happened, for a reason. I don't know what the reason is, but I mean, I suspect I know, but like, I'm not going to get into that right now. So, then after the accident, I was given a car and a decent amount of money. And, I went on a road trip. I still didn't know well, let me back up. So while I was living in the Honda Civic, the 2-door Honda Civic with no AC, no heater, and I lived in that car through the summer and the winter. And it was abominable. It was fucking horrible. It was awful. I mean, I really did my best with it, but like, it was really awful. People were doing really awful shit to me. I was getting stalked. I mean, all kinds of things were happening. And I would go to bed at night, or not bed, but sleep. I haven't had a bed in a long time. I would go to sleep at night just feeling like an utter failure. Just feeling, and looking at Bella and looking at the way she looks at me, and how much she loves me and trusts me. And just thinking like, I need to make a better life for her. I didn't love myself yet enough to make that a priority for myself. Does that make sense? Like, I I mean, I cared very much about myself, but I don't think I loved myself in the sense that I, you know, it was easier for me to externalize that, you know, I've got to do something. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I just kept telling Bella, you know, I'm going to make a better life for us. I don't care what it takes or what I have to do, you know, as long as it's in alignment with you know, my highest good, of course, and hers, that, you know, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to, you know, make that happen. And so I just kept telling her that every night before we'd go to sleep, and like multiple times through the day too. I just kept telling her, you know, I don't know how or who or when or why or any of that. I just know it's going to happen. And I just, that's all I know. And that's all I knew. It was like a mantra. It was my mantra. And it was also a prayer. And I just kept saying it over and over. And I really believed it, you know, and I would cry hard through that, you know, just like, because I felt like I was lying to myself, you know. I felt like it was an affirmation that didn't quite fit yet. So I kept plugging away, and I got angry. And that's what happened that night at that accident. You know, I was angry. I was angry at the world. I was angry that I had been left alone, you know, that all these people had died, that, you know, the few people that were still alive had abandoned me. I was angry. When I took that anger and I made it useful, I made it 11:33 on the clock when I said that. I turned it into energy to help save that man's life that night. And he most certainly would have gone into shock and probably died if I had not been there. That's just the truth. I'm not trying to, you know, toot my own horn or anything like that. It's just simply the truth. And I was there. And nobody else was on him, like, you know, with the shock, because I knew that going from a burning hot car, and he had burns all over him, to a freezing cold night, and it was freezing cold, was probably going to kill him. And I knew that. So I did what it took to keep him with us until, God, I almost want to cry, until the paramedics were there, because I didn't have any equipment. I had nothing. And I mean, I had bottles of water, and people were taking off their clothes to cover him up, and that's all we had. And I just knew 1, 2, 3, 4 on the clock when I started saying this. I just knew that, you know, I had a specific role to play, and so I played it. I did what was, you know, what was needed. And, you know, I was given the car. Subaru gave me the car, and, you know, made a big hubbub about it. It was on the news and everything, and that was amazing. It was really cool. And then, you know, the man and his wife, Liz and Randall Jackson, who encouraged me to start a GoFundMe, and I still wouldn't do it. 13 and 13 on the clock. I wouldn't do it, so Randall did it for me. And, you know, the tremendous outflowing of generosity and goodwill towards me and Bella for what we did that night. Because really, I was really just being myself. I wasn't trying to do anything other than trying to save a family from some of the heartache that I had been through. I really wasn't. I was really just being me. Get up, please. Please move. Missy, please. Missy, Monty. Can you please? Oh, okay, well, we'll sit together then. So, groany dog. That's my groany dog. You need a nap, huh? Go on, have a nap in the back. Go on. Go on, Noodle. Oh. Get your booty buns in the back. Oh, you're so cute. W. Super dirty. Stop it, Dusty Dog. And, you know, I've always been a pretty brave person. I've always, you know, especially, like, and I know this may not sound right, but, like, for a woman, you know, I've always been a very brave person. And, I was really just being myself that night. And, it was the one time in my life that I had, you know, really been acknowledged publicly. Excuse me, go on. Go on, Noodle. Go on, Noodle. Go on, yummy duck. Okay, I won't push you anymore. It was the one time in my life, really, that I had been acknowledged publicly for something like that. And I've been a hero my whole life. So to me, this was like a big deal. Here, get that winnow. You get that winnow. And we're not going to be toxic though. Stop. Stop. Stop, Yummy Duck. Go on now. Go on. Stop, Yummy Duck. It was the first time I had been acknowledged for something like that. So, I really didn't think much of it, is what I'm trying to say. Excuse me. Excuse me. Pardon me. Pardon me. Excuse me. So, you know, then I had the car and I had a decent amount of money, and I thought, you know, what am I going to do? And, you know, really that's when the idea of, you know, making a place for people to, like, recover themselves. And I mean, like, to come home to themselves, you know, first came to me, and I thought, well, I'll buy a piece of land and do that, you know. And, I didn't do it, and I ran out of money, but, you know, I wasn't going to beat myself up about it. I mean, I did a little bit, but I was really working on the self-love thing, and I really didn't, you know, want to beat myself up for it. So last winter, you know, I found myself, you know, in a different car, but still living in the car, you know, and, I had transmuted all of this. I mean, I had taken what would kill most people or cause them to kill themselves and transformed it, you know, losing all the 12 people in less than 6 years. That's a big deal. And I transformed it into a kind of freedom. And, you know, even the anger that came out of it, I was able to transmute that, you know, into saving a life. And, then, you know, I took, you know, the more spiritual part of myself and the experiences that I had had, and I transmuted those too, because a lot of them were awful. Excuse me. A lot of them were awful. You know, the stalking, what happened to me at the house in Napomo from the people who stole the house and the property from me was disgusting. They're disgusting people, like vile, disgusting people. The things that they did to me are just off the hook, human rights, violations, and also just disgusting people, you know, anybody who would, you know, want to, like, rob you of all of your, you know, your sanity, your freedom, your privacy, and everything else, and scare the shit out of you and intimidate you and everything else. I mean, this went on for years. And, you know, what people kept asking me was, you know, why would anybody do that to you? Well, it wasn't about me. It was about the property and the house. So people kill each other for money all the time. People kill each other for $5 or less, you know? So why wouldn't you do it for a couple million? And so, you know, it was like, that was like, that logic was lost on everybody. It was so odd why people kept asking me, you know, why would anybody do this to you? I'm like, and like, also they made it personal, because they knew what was going on with everybody dying in my life and things like that. And they kept pushing those buttons. They kept on doing it. You know, so, you know, and I had taken those experiences of the stalking, gang stalking, cyberbullying, everything that had happened to me. And, oh, excuse me. I'm like, I don't start yawning until I turn the video camera on, or Bella starts making noise when I turn the video camera on. It's like, it's all right. My flesh is going to fight me. But I kept on going, and I took those things that were so nasty. They were such nasty things to do to anyone. I don't care who it is. To do to anyone. It was really horrible, what they did to me. And you know, so you know, on the 30-day road trip with my dog, I really set about, you know, making it mean something. Like, not mean something, but like, what am I going to turn this into, you know? Like, 19 on the clock. And so I transmuted all of that, and I became the positive person that I wanted to be, that I always needed myself to be, that I needed others around me to be, but they never were. And I that's what I did. I took all of it and I transmuted it into kind of like an absurd positivity where, like, you could throw anything at me. I mean, I lost my food stamps about a year ago. Yeah, this month it was a year ago. And I didn't know how I was going to afford to feed me and Bella. I had no idea. Well, she can't go without eating, right? So I decided that I was just going to fast. And so I did that, and I still do that. And it saves me a lot of money on food, and also it's really good for my body. Really good for my body. So, and my spirit, you know, it's just good all around for mind, body, spirit, heart, everything. And, I mean, that's what I did with that, you know, and you'd think, well, that's kind of absurd. You know, you lose your food stamps and, you know, I mean, I tried to get them back and everything, and apparently I made too much money. It's just like, you know, and I found other ways to get dog food for Bella. And it's still not enough. I still don't have enough. But at the same time, am I going to, you know, was I going to let myself stress about it? No. You have to understand, I had been through so much that you could have, like, said the world's going to explode tomorrow, and I'd be like, okay, let's have a party. You know what I mean? Like, I got to the point where it was like, sorry, I'm trying to get my owl out of this jar of water. But I really, you know, I got to the point where it was, it was absurd. And if I explained it to anyone, they looked at me like, are you crazy? I'd be like, no, but like, you don't know what I've been through either. It makes sense if you kind of understand the severity of what I went through. Oops. Oh, for God's sake. So, and you know, the options, what option did I have, you know, to go to the park and get fed pizza and like hot dogs and gross, like, ugh. So I really I kept coming up the mountain, and I stayed up here. I wouldn't come down. Like, I didn't come down for anything. I didn't care if I hadn't showered. I didn't care if I hadn't eaten. I just, you know, I had food for Bella, and that was, you know, that was enough for me. And that was, you know, really all I cared about with her at the time. And so I kept plugging away. And some of the things that have happened to me have been just like, if I told you about them, you think, well, yeah, she's definitely crazy. And that's fine. I really don't care what people think. However, some of the experiences that I had were undeniably spiritual. I mean, like quantum mechanics, like paranormal, supernatural experiences. A lot of them. 2222 on the clock, and 2223. And so, you know, and I had one friend who, you know, talked to me a lot, and he would listen to me, and basically he just told me that what I was dealing with was demonic, and that, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, yeah, okay. Like, none of it jived with me, though, you know, like, it wasn't there was nothing bad about it. There was nothing that was leading me into any kind of, like, you know, hostile territory. I mean, I was loving life more. I was trusting God more. I was trusting myself more. I was healing mind, heart, and body. And like, anybody that could, you know, look at the accomplishments that I had made and still tell me that I was, you know, dabbling in something demonic it was preposterous. It was not only rude, but like, it was absolutely ridiculous. It was ridiculous. 23:24 on the clock. So, you know, I didn't listen to that. You know, I prayed about it, of course, because I did have questions. But like, at the same time, I knew, I know my own heart. And I most certainly knew, I knew the heart of God, and I knew that this couldn't be correct, you know, what I was being told. So I kept plugging away. I kept fasting. I kept praying. I kept meditating. I kept doing all the things that I had done, you know, to begin with. And it worked. It worked. It healed my body. I got off prescription medication. I had been on prescription medication for like close to 30 years. So I got off of that. I quit smoking for quite a while, which was like a big deal because I wasn't trying to quit. You have to understand, I wasn't trying to quit. 24:25 on the clock when I said that. I wasn't trying to quit smoking. I wasn't trying to quit prescription medication. It just fell off. It just fell away. I wasn't even trying. I wasn't trying to heal my anxiety. I came up the mountain to heal my broken heart. That was the only goal. I didn't come up here trying to master anything or I was simply trying to heal a very broken heart. That's all I was trying to do. So, you know, and my faith in myself and in God and in my dog, and it healed those things. And like I said, the smoking fell away, and I never believed that I could not only quit smoking, but I didn't believe it was even possible. I mean, like I said, I didn't even believe it was possible. I didn't believe it was possible to ever get off the Klonopin and not care, you know, and never want to go back and all those things. I didn't believe any of that. I didn't believe any of it. It just fell away. It was kind of like a natural process. It just happened. And, you know, then I wasn't experiencing anxiety anymore. Then I wasn't experiencing depression anymore. And then my heart was healed. And I mean, it wasn't completely healed, but it was a lot more healed than it had ever been. And so these results that I was getting were undeniably amazing. And I mean, other people were denying it left and right because they didn't want to see their own lack of healing. They didn't want to see their own lack of belief and faith. But like, that was beside the point for me. I didn't really care, and I still don't really, about what other people think or say to me or about me, because it really wasn't helpful. It wasn't even trying to be helpful. You know, and since then, it's been about a year since I did all of that. And it's been like fine-tuning since then. It's been like, recalibrating myself to the person that I always was, and that had gotten covered up and fucked up and damaged and hurt by so much trauma and so much bullshit and so many lies and so much crappy conditioning and all these kinds of things, that it had, you know, I had gotten covered up under a whole lot of layers of bullshit. And so, you know, healing that and fine-tuning all of that and going through all of that has taken quite a bit of time. But, you know, it's all divine timing. It's all right where it's supposed to be. It's all exactly the way it's supposed to be. And I, you know, I kept telling myself that too. And I didn't want to believe that, you know, because to say that, you'd have to say, well, you know, then everybody died, you know, because they were supposed to, or that was supposed to happen. You know, like, you know, people start like zeroing in on little things. And, the devil's always in the details, the devil. But, I got to a point where, you know, I was so healed and I was so happy. And then it like plateaued. And I thought, uh-oh, did I lose momentum here? Like, what happened? Because it seemed like everybody was still gone out of my life. Although people were starting to come back. But like, also not come back, but like I was starting to have, you know, people be more attracted to me, as far as like energetically. And so I didn't know what to think, you know, I kind of got stuck and I thought, uh-oh, what the fuck, you know, what do I do now, kind of thing. And I didn't know what to do except to go back up the mountain and do it again, kind of thing, you know, like rinse and repeat kind of situation. And that was really all I knew to do. And I had experienced some difficulties up here, but like at the same time, there were difficulties because I was looking at them as difficulties. They were not actual difficulties. And like you know, you think, well, you lost your food stamps. Yeah, well, I did. And I decided to fast instead of worrying about it, because I didn't have a choice. I mean, it was either like sit and freak out about something that I couldn't control or change anyhow, or make it work for me, you know, like use it for my growth. So I did. I mean, you know, I know other people that like they actually have more money than I do, you know, because of their partner or whomever, and they live in homes and all kinds of stuff, and they still get food stamps. And I'm just like, you know, and I did some of that, you know, for a while. I did some of that like comparison thing, you know, well, you have more than I do. And the fact of the matter is, yeah, they have more than I do, but they were miserable people. Miserable people. And so did they actually have more than me? No, they didn't. Because they're miserable, and I wasn't. I'm not a miserable person. I mean, I have been, but like, no, I'm not. And, you know, it was through a lot of hard work that I, you know, made myself not miserable. So I wasn't going to stop. You know, I wanted to be happy. And I know that you know, not just happy, but I wanted to be as happy as possible all the time. Like, I want to have as much fun as possible all the time. And I know not everything can be fun, but you can take the things that are shitty in your life and make them fun. You can make kind of like a game out of it. And that's what I chose to do. I didn't feel like I had a choice. The only choice I had was to be miserable again. And fucking, I'm not going back to that. Like, ever. Never. Like, I'm not in this life or any other. Like, I'm over it. I've done plenty of the misery thing. Like, I've done it and then done it some more and then done it some more. And I'm just really over it. So, you know, I made up my mind. You know, I made choices for myself that I didn't want to go back on. I didn't want to go back to being miserable. I didn't want to feel that way ever again. And so I kept working on it. I kept fine-tuning things. I kept transmuting. I kept, you know, eating all the shit sandwiches. Sorry for the noise. And spitting out rainbows and fucking unicorns and shit. And like, I don't even like rainbows and unicorns that much. Actually, that's not true. I do. But, you know what I mean? Like, it was to the point, like I said, where it was like absurdity. At least I felt like it was, kind of. But I knew why I was doing it. I knew that in this world, nobody had ever been, except for maybe my mother for a short time in my life. My mom was my best advocate. I mean, she was, you know, she really stood up for me. And, you know, she had my back through a lot of things that, you know, most people wouldn't have been there for, even their friends, you know. My mom understood some things. I mean, she did, at least for a time. But she understood that, you know, that supporting people and standing up for them wasn't something that you just did when it was easy. You did it all the time. Or you stopped calling yourself that person's friend. You know what I mean? Like, but, you know, I had been through so much betrayal and everything else that I didn't have anyone anymore. I just had myself. And it took a long time for me to see that was more than enough. That I didn't need anyone. And it wasn't about like, oh, I don't need anyone, you know, because I'm sitting here bitter and, you know, no, I really don't need anyone is the thing. Like, none of us actually do. I mean, it's a tricky thing to say you don't need people, because we do. But at the same time, I don't need you to validate my growth. I don't need you to, you know, that's more what I need when I say what I mean when I say I don't need anyone. I don't need you to validate me. I don't need you to tell me I'm right or I'm wrong or any of that. I'm good. Like, I know what's going on. I'm good. And that was a big deal, because we're told and taught, oh, that like disintegrated in my mouth, that we need people, you know, to validate us, to bring meaning into our life. And that's just actually not true. So I transmuted, you know, a whole lot of grief. And I mean, a whole lot of grief, a shit ton of, like a metric shit ton of it. Grief, doubt, confusion, all of it. I took all of it and I made it into a happy life. I mean, I really didn't know what else to do with it. You know, I had basically, you know, I had all this, you know, like dropped in my lap. And, you know, what was I going to do with it? And so the only thing I really knew how to do was to transmute it. Although I didn't set out with that, like, mindset. I didn't set out with the mindset that told me, you know, I'm going to transmute all of this into something wonderful. Nope, I didn't. I just kept telling myself, you know, I'm going to make something better out of it. I don't know how. I don't know when. I don't know who. I don't know where. I don't know even why some of the time. But I'm gonna do this. Excuse me. And here I am a year later. It's been over a year, but like, for all intents and purposes, a year. And it's really nice to know that, like, I've arrived, so to speak, 34 on the clock. Like, it's not, I mean, I know it's not perfect, yet. It will be 34, 44. And you know, I'm working on it. Like, you know, I had somebody say something to me about what happened at the accident. They said to me, we were, you know, hanging out one day, and they said to me, you know, well, you deserved to have that car given to you and the money, but you didn't earn it. And I said to that person, I said to her, oh no, I earned it and I deserve it, both. And I remember she looked at me like kind of confused, but she didn't, and she didn't try to correct me. But, you know, she said that to me, you know, you deserve it, but you didn't earn it. I'm like, I don't know how you figure that. I don't know how you see that. How you see that I didn't earn it. You mean I didn't earn it in the way that you think things are supposed to be earned? I'm not sure what the fuck. Well, I know exactly what she was thinking, but, you know, it was this kind of, you know, like, this, like, you have to actually work at a job or something like that to, you know, like a 9-to-5 job, to earn something. And I'm gonna disagree with you. There are other ways to earn things, many other ways. And frankly, who are you to tell me anything? Like, you know, but I remember being told that, and I thought to myself at the time, just like, no, fuck you. I earned it and I deserve it, both. She didn't like that. But that person and I are not friends anymore, so it doesn't really matter. The point is, of me saying that at all, is that even then, I recognized that I earned and deserved what I had. And that I had not only, you know, that I had not only earned the car and the money that was given to me, but also, you know, I worked really hard for it. And I keeping my shit together, you know, and also staying in alignment with God's, you know, with the universe, with Christ consciousness, with, you know, with my highest good, whatever, you know, you want to put there, so that things could work out for me. You know, there were a lot of times when I, you know, needed to go right, and I could have gone left. I could have taken an easy way out. I could have found a boyfriend who, you know, would put me up in his house and, you know, feed me and whatever the fuck. But, like, that's not what I wanted at the time. I really wanted to do it myself. I wanted to be self-sufficient, and I needed to be self-sufficient again because I needed to rebuild my confidence. I needed to get rid of a lot of the doubt that had come up in my life, and come up in so many ways and for so long, that I was kind of broken for a while. I mean, I don't know if I was broken, but I was certainly bent, way out of shape. I kept my head down and I kept plugging away at it. You know, we had the fire in the car back in the end of May of 2023. And I thought that I still, you know, have some damage from here. And I mean, really, you know, it took 2 weeks to get the insurance claim money, which helped a lot. But also, I mean, for those 2 weeks, I was really thinking the car was a loss, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I really hadn't thought about, you know, what I was going to do without the car. So it pushed me into a place where I had to think about it. You know, I had to think about what Bella and I were going to do without this car, or any car, a car, whatever. And I had a, you know, reasonable amount of insurance claim money. And I set about putting our life back together as best I could. And that included, you know, getting into the car, cutting the wires underneath the seat, getting a replacement seat, which was very expensive, rewiring all of that. And I did that myself. And continuing on where things had gotten interrupted when I had the fire in the car. So, you know, I kept working at it. And no, it's not the kind of work that I think most people would think of as work. But, like, I've sacrificed a lot. Sacrificed having any kind of social life, really, at all. Because I really am not interested in attaching my energy to people who don't care about themselves and who don't care about me necessarily. And even if they do, they still do like really misguided things and say really misguided things to try to, you know, veer me off path. And I'm simply not willing to do that anymore. There were many years of my life when I was willing to do that. And yeah, I'm just not willing to do that anymore. And it took a lot of, I doubted myself. I doubted things around me. I totally doubted God. 100% I did. There were times when I did. And yet I knew that God's faithfulness, God, you know, the universe, universal life force source, you know, whatever you want to call that, because there are many names for it, that the universe's faithfulness to me was paramount and was also impeccable. And I couldn't deny that. I couldn't deny that I had always been shown love, acceptance, gratitude for my strength and perseverance and things like that. You know, I set about reading books and all kinds of things that would feed into this, that would reinforce it, that would make it work. You know, not just make it work, but like make it true. Because I felt like some of the things that I had been experiencing were maybe not true, or maybe I didn't have any evidence to back it up, kind of thing. And really what I could look at the end of the day, when I was laying down in my car seat to sleep, was, where's the evidence for this? Well, the evidence is in my attitude, is in my mental health, my physical health, my emotional health, and not just emotional health, but like emotional maturity, in my tolerance for things that most other people would just be like, I'm fucking out of here. I mean, they just would. They would not put up with the things that I put up with. You know, last summer in the car was so hot. I mean, I was sweating all day, every day. It was hard to breathe sometimes because it was so hot. And Bella, and I mean, it was hard. It was really hard. This last winter, very hard. Very cold. Cold days and even colder nights. I had a rat that I picked up at the place where my car was towed to. Had rats. So I picked up a rat somewhere there when the car was sitting in the tow yard. So I mean, I was getting woken up by the rat in the engine compartment. I mean, you know, I was, and it was super cold during the day and then freezing cold at night. I mean, it was everything. I didn't have much food to eat. All kinds of stuff. And I think a lot of people would have given up and would have just said, you know, fuck this. I'm going to, you know, go stay in a shelter, or I'm going to, you know, whatever, to make life easier. And I even had somebody approach me this last summer. Not this last summer. Yeah, this last summer. Somebody approached me and told me, you know what, your life could be easier. Why don't you do this? And and they were right that my life could be easier, but like not fulfilling, not happy, not joyful, not anything like I wanted it to be. And so I was not willing to give up my vision for some ease. You know what I mean? Like, I was not willing to do that. Like, I wasn't going to do that. No way. I had worked way too hard. And besides, you know, I think that what this person thought of as easier, to me, was not easier at all. To me, you know, from my perspective, that's miserable. I mean, really miserable. So, but I wouldn't compromise on my vision. I wouldn't compromise. I wouldn't give in. I wouldn't quit. You know, I wouldn't just, excuse me. I wouldn't, it's so funny when I'm sitting here doing videos, I start to see all the little specks of dust and things on my like console. So, cause it always, the wind picks up here and it just blows dust right into the car. So I'm constantly cleaning this console. I wouldn't compromise my vision, not even for some ease. And it probably would have maybe made my life a little bit easier in certain ways, but not in the ways that really mattered to me. Not at all. And I just wasn't willing to do that. I wasn't willing to compromise my vision. And I mean, I have plans, you know. I haven't really talked to anybody about those plans. I've talked about some of the things that I'd like to do, but pretty much, you know, I keep my own counsel, you know. with things. God, this thing is, I spilled a cup of tea in my car about, I don't know, a month ago, and it's just been like sticky every time. I think I clean it all up, and then I find, you know, another little couple drops of it, and it was really sticky because I had put honey and sugar in my tea, and then I spilled it, you know, in the center console of my car. Like, not the center console, but like, well, yeah, it was partially in the center console, but the console was kind of like covered up, so it didn't really get into the console too badly. But like on the front controls here, it made a mess. Like, my hazard lights always stick when I try to put them on. And you know, I really wasn't willing to compromise my vision, even for a little bit of ease. I just wasn't willing to do it, so I didn't. And I'm so glad that I didn't. Sorry for the ticking noise. I'm trying to, it's like that tea just got everywhere. You know, I wasn't willing to compromise. I just wasn't willing to do it. And that served me, you know, that lack of compromising. And it's not that I'm unwilling to compromise with other people, or, you know, some such thing like that. Like, I'm, you know, not willing to negotiate, or, you know, be flexible. That's not at all what I mean. What I mean is, I wasn't willing to compromise my dream for a little bit of ease. It was better, at least the way I saw it, was better for me to keep going it alone, and also be able to give all the credit to myself and God when it finally came to fruition, when this all finally comes to fruition, and it will soon. You know, then compromise my vision for, you know, for anything. I just wasn't willing to do it, and I'm still not. There are just things that, you know, it's not that I'm inflexible, you know, or unwilling to compromise at all. It's just that I need to see that that's, you know, that's in line with the vision, that's going to work, you know, that's going to be in line with the highest good for everyone, including myself and Bella. Otherwise, I'm simply not going to do it. Period. Just not going to do it. And so I held true to my vision. I held true to it, to the things that I had been daydreaming about. I held true to. And I mean, this was difficult. Like I said, I didn't have much food to eat. By all accounts, you know, the way that my life appears may seem like, you know, I'm a fucking disaster. You know, that I don't have a house to live in, that, you know, I don't have a romantic partner, that I don't have much money, all those kinds of things. Like, you could look at it, you know, and, you know, you could judge it that way, but if you did, you'd be a really silly person. Because those are not the only hallmarks of success. You know, I mean, a huge success of mine was healing my heart, my mind. Huge. Most people go through their whole lives and never figure that shit out. Ever. They never even get close. Ever. And I've done this whole healing journey by myself, with God and a dog. That's it. Nothing and no one else. Literally. No one and nothing. God, me, and my dog. That's it. And I'm really proud of myself for having been able to transmute so many things, for becoming truly like a master alchemist, and being able to bring joy into my life and the lives of others, simply by not giving up. And that it wasn't simple in the sense that it was all easy. I mean, it wasn't simple and easy, or two different things. However, I learned to find the joy in things. I learned to always find the joy in things, no matter what was going on around me, or inside me even. And please stop, honey. And I learned to keep it fun. You know, I make time for play. I recently just bought this little, like, was at the 99-cent store. I bought this, like, thing of bubbles, and they, like, make big old bubbles. And I just have fun. Because, like, what else am I gonna do? You know, sitting here up on the mountain all day and all night and all day and all night. it's like, I have books to read, and, I can listen to YouTube, and I can play with my dog, and, but like keeping that sense of like childlike play in my life is a really important part of all of this. Because, when you're having fun, things manifest a whole lot easier, and also you keep that like creative spark, because you want to create like new ideas, and you want to be daydreamy, and having a good time while you're doing it. And I know that it's not possible for everybody to do that. However, it was possible for me, so that's what I did. Excuse me. And I find ways to keep things new and fresh and fun, and excuse me. And truly, that's been one of the, not secrets, but special ingredients to the whole sauce kind of thing. And I really got to give myself a lot of credit. Got to give the Most High and, my Elohim the credit, and my spirit team, and my ancestors, my angels, because they didn't leave me when everybody else did. They didn't give up when everybody except me was giving up. And I see a lot of people who are in my situation, sorry, boo, I'm just trying to fix your bed, who are in my situation, living without a house and all, and they're miserable. They're turning to drugs, alcohol. I mean, even if they didn't actually use those things before, they turn to them because there's something in them needs, that unhealed parts of them, those unhealed parts of them need to cover up their misery, rather than feel it. And that's what I did with my misery. I took my misery and I felt it to the deepest point of feeling it. Like the horribleness, the loneliness, the abandonment, the loss, the grief. I mean, I felt it all, and I let myself feel it. I cried through it. Sometimes I would just lay in the car for days on end and cuddle with my pillow and my dog. But I did that. I didn't turn to pot. I didn't turn to drugs. I didn't turn to alcohol. I didn't turn to anything that could cover it up. And not food, nothing. So, I really let myself feel through it, and not just go through it, but grow through what I was going through. And that was a big difference from anything I had experienced before. Basically before all of this, when things would happen to me, or at least, when I never thought of them happening for me, never. I always thought of them happening to me. And I had a very, deeply instilled victim mentality. I guess that's still it. And, I even felt victimized by what happened to other people. I would see, how their lives were going or not working out. And I would think, oh God, is that what I'm in store for? And I would say, there was part of me that kind of believed that maybe I was, going to fall down into that trap. And then it was like, no, I'm just being shown that that's where it could have gone, that's where I used to be. And it was like a reminder of how far I had come. And it's been an extraordinary journey, and I'm looking forward to the next steps always. And I'm excited, to keep that sense of excitement and newness is hard. It's you got to work for that. You have to work for it. You don't just, so that when you get it, you didn't just deserve it, you earned it. You worked hard. And I know that I've genuinely worked very hard to be where I am today, to have the fun, happy, fulfilled life that I have now, is much different than how I felt a year ago. And my birthday's coming up, and I'm choosing to keep that. I've been through a lot of thought exercises where maybe I lost Bella, or maybe I lost the car, or maybe I got some horrible news with my health or something like that. Something, monumentally awful. And how would I take that and make that something that I could transmute as well? I've been through all of it. I've thought about all of it, and then some. And, you know, when you have that kind of mindset, you're really like unstoppable. You're unshakable. There's just nothing. And when you know you've already been through so much, and I've been through so much, you know, you start to understand the unshakable, unbreakable nature that you've cultivated. And it just builds more confidence. And that's really amazing. And I could really give, you know, all the credit to God, myself, my dog. And that's it. 55:11 on the clock. So I encourage people to be true to themselves. True, you know, really be true to yourself. Find out what makes you tick and run with that. Find out what, you know, what's fun for you and run with that. Because no one's going to do this for us. I don't think anyone can do this for us. 55:33 on the clock. So it's worth it to do it for yourself, because you're worth it. You're worth it. I had to figure out that I was worth it, and it was hard, and it took a lot of years. And when I finally figured it out, you know, I felt like maybe I had lost time or wasted time, and that's not true either. 55:55 on the clock. So, you know, take it easy on yourself. Show yourself as much patience as, you know, you would show someone else. Sometimes it's easier to treat other people, you know, the way we should be treating ourselves. I know I spent a lot of years doing that too. So really be kind to yourself and accept yourself the way that you are. Because if you don't, no one's going to do that for you. No one can do that for you. So give yourself a break. If you didn't do what you wanted to do today, do it tomorrow. There's no time like the present. Do it tomorrow, and give yourself the grace to fail sometimes, you know, to not always meet the mark, to not always, you know, meet expectations, your own expectations and things like that. Like, give yourself a break, you know, give yourself a break on that. And I really think that if people stopped being so hard on themselves, and I mean in toxic ways, there are very positive ways to be hard on yourself, and there are very toxic ways to do it as well. And I think most of what I see is people being like toxically difficult with themselves, and holding themselves accountable for things that they really can't control, and it's not their responsibility anyhow. So, you know, I really encourage people to give yourself a break, you know, do it, try it again, you know. And that's, you know, it's a mindset that, it's a success mindset that no one can take from you. You know, you can't be robbed of it. You can't be cheated out of it. So, yeah, I really like, try to have a different perspective on the things that have happened to you in your life. You know, have the perspective they happened for you. And I mean, I could look at any number of things in my life and be like, oh, that happened to me, and that's why I'm this way. But that's not being easy on myself. You know, being easy on myself is, yeah, okay, that happened for me, and how am I going to transmute this pile of shit into something positive? How am I going to do that? And keep looking for those ways to do things, because there's always a way. And yeah, love, blessings, and compassion to everyone. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another.